All right, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to talk a little bit about Brazilian natural stones and its global impact. My name is Fabio Cruz. I'm the vice-president of Centrorochas. Centrorochas is the entity that represents all Brazilian natural stone quarries, manufacturers, and exporters. Before we dive into the presentation, I just wanted to give you guys an idea about what is the role of Brazil in a natural stone global market. We are the number one country in the world when it comes to geological diversity. What does that mean? Brazil nowadays have over 1,200 different stones being manufactured, being quarried. We are the fourth major producer and the fifth major exporter in the world. When it comes to the United States of America, Brazil is the number one supplier to that country. Everything they import, Brazil represents almost 1/4 of it. We came from, in 25 years, of $200 million exports to 1.3 billion. Brazil really changed the game in the natural stone industry in the last couple decades. I like to bring this slide to show that even though Brazil is a far country from the Middle East, of course, but Brazil can support projects of all sizes. And if certain variables are aligned, normally when I talk to architects and designers, I say we have what is the most important part, which is the natural resource. But as an entity, we try to help architects connecting the dots, because sometimes specifying natural stone, it can be super tricky. Is it coming from the right quarry, or is it being supplied by the right company? What about logistics? Do I buy it here, or do I buy direct from the country? Depending on the size of the project, if you need cut-to sizes or slabs, that may change. So we, as an association, we try to facilitate that experience for architects and designers. Sometimes I am asked by people, are you guys destroying the Amazon to open quarries? So I like to bring this slide explaining that Brazil is a continent-size country. And we have several biomes in Brazil. The Amazon is one of them. And we are very far from the Amazon, where all the stones are being manufactured. Here in this picture, you can see where the vast majority of the Amazon is. The dark gray areas is where most of the quarries are located, and the factories are very concentrated in the southeast part nearby Rio de Janeiro. Sometimes when you think about marble, you probably think about Italy. When you think about granite, you may think India. If you think about onyx, you may think Iran, or have different countries have different materials. Brazil has everything. We have granite, marble, quartzites, semi-precious stones, slate, you name it. Normally, granites, first word that comes to people's mind is durability. When you think about marbles, you may think luxury. Now, we have quartzites, which is the best of all worlds. In the most scale, quartzites are normally 6 or 7, so they're much harder than granite, and they have the marble look. So what does that mean? You can apply to more different areas, to more areas than you can the marble. Unfortunately, here, not yet in the Middle East, quartzites are starting to be used. Sometimes people confuse with quartz, which is definitely not the same thing. But we believe there's a huge market in the Middle East for the Brazilian quartzites. You can find quartzites in other countries as well, but not with the variety that you can in Brazil. It's pretty much endless possibilities. Now, what are they used for? Normally, sometimes I do this presentation in the US, for example, and our natural stones are very used for countertops. So, but here it's a little different because you have a cultural aspect of using stones everywhere. But we know they can be used interior, exteriors, countertops, structures, furniture, and of course decor. I think this phrase describes really well how we feel about stones. A work of art takes a long time to complete. Natural stones took millions of years. Now, let's talk about sustainability for a little bit. I brought a few items for us to talk about. I believe when we talk about sustainability, first of all, we need to define how we want to look at things. And especially you have to look at it from a very holistic perspective. So I brought 4 major topics for us to talk about: lower CO2 emissions, the use of waste, the water reclamation, and the long life cycle. I brought 3 examples. These are actual commercial jobs. These are projects made in the US. I took this from the Natural Stone Institute, and I am pretty much comparing the CO2 emission of a square meter of natural stone compared to a different building material. So in this example, we're comparing with precast concrete. If you look at how much CO2 emission in a square meter of natural stone we have almost 3 times more compared to the precast concrete. Is 3 times more CO2 emission. If we compare to terrazzo, now we're talking about almost 4 times more CO2 emission. And if we compare to quartz, natural stone is almost half. It's about half of the CO2 emission. So what is the intention of bringing this to you? Sometimes building products, it's very easy to come to the market and say, oh, we manufacture our product using recycled materials, consumables. But what does that mean? Without looking at the whole supply chain, that doesn't tell the whole story. That's why I brought these examples for us to compare, to look at it. Okay, now the use of waste in Brazil. I brought a few examples of how Brazil is nowadays using the waste of the natural stone quarries and manufacturers. This particular one here that I'm showing, there's a huge company in Brazil called Samarco. They worked for several years, 7 or 8 years, developing a way to use the marble powder within their iron ore manufacturing process. Once they got their environmental approval, they consumed, just in 6 months, more than 21,000 tons of marble powder. So that's just one example of something that we're trying to do in Brazil to use more of our waste. The agricultural uses, it's another huge thing for us. As you may all know, Brazil is very big when it comes to agriculture, and nowadays we have been using more and more powder of different minerals in the soil. It raises the pH level of the soil and enhances nutrient availability as well. And there are several different incentives from federal government, from state government on how to use all that waste as a consumable for other building products. The water, something very important. I would say all of the companies nowadays in our country, they have what we call water closed circuit, meaning that pretty much all the water is reused. We just lose for evaporation. And of course, by far the variable that impacts the most in the sustainability aspect is the life cycle. Some people don't realize, but we have projects in the world of thousands and thousands and thousands of years. There's nothing more sustainable than that. In the US, I normally say that if your house burns down, the only thing that's going to remain is your granite countertop. You can't compare with other man-made product. So that's very important. So what is Centrorochas? Again, Centrorochas is an entity that represents all the companies in Brazil. We don't sell anything. We just promote our stones from our country. As I normally do these presentations to architects and designers, and as I mentioned, it can be very tricky specifying stone. Now you just have a friend in the industry, that someone you can contact, and it can narrow down options for you if you're looking for a specific stone or a specific product. A few years ago, we got together with our federal government, and we created a project. The project, it's called It's Natural, Brazilian Natural Stone. We do several different initiatives. We do trade shows, we do presentations, we bring architects to Brazil, buyers to Brazil, designers to Brazil. We were very concentrated in the last 25 years to the US. We are trying to come more to the Middle East. It's still not a destination that we sell a lot because of logistics, because of it's far, it's not so easy for us to come here all the time. But I believe there's a huge potential here, of course. So the program this is such a fragmented industry that we believe that if we do it together as an association, we have a better chance of promoting Brazilian stones. These are some of the programs I just mentioned: Designers in Brazil, Buyers Project, Matchmaking. And here I have just a few examples of projects currently being worked on in Brazil. Okay, well, feel free to connect. I think you can download the presentation on that QR code. I would love to connect with you guys, keep you posted, send you more information. And of course, if there is any question, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope to see you around. And again, feel free to send me an email or connect me on LinkedIn to keep you posted. Thank you.